Hey, 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 everybody. It is Friday. It is a cloudy Friday, but it is Friday, and we know what that means. That is right. It is episode number 99, the number of the great one away from 100. Episode number 99 of the Real Deal Pod with Allister and Geoff. It is I, your trusted realtor, Allister Carrington, alongside our trusted mortgage broker, our mortgage guru, Geoff Lee. Whew, that was a lot to get out in one breath. How you doing, Geoff?
I'm surprised you didn't pass out. That was a lot of. That was a lot of. Lot of. I was gonna say air, but then that doesn't sound quite right. But yeah, you were going.
Dude, I was turning red through that, and so it was being black and red at the same time. I think that was what, purple I was turning. It was crazy.
Yeah. You were turning color.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Like you said, it's a little bit rainy outside, so a little bit cloudy, but as I always say, this is what makes beautiful BC green, right?
It's
So
January, Geoff. It's January. I call it that with my wife, with Michelle, and she dislikes it. But I always say we get this crazy month of June where May is all nice and hot, and then June becomes like damp and cold, for pretty much the majority of it. And then we get July where it's hot again. So,
yeah.
I call it January.
I've said this before, and I will always retract it as soon as it comes out of my mouth. But this is why we know Mother Nature is a woman,
I'll
because
let
she
you
can never make up her mind.
I'll let you
And
own that one, Geoff, because that one, if my wife is listening in the other room, she'll hit me for it when the
and
pod's over.
now I'm retracting it as I
She'll
said it.
she'll never perform any violence while the pod is going because
Yeah.
it's documented. It's documented evidence. As soon as the pod shuts down, that's when
If
I get beat.
if I get hate mail, I'll know it's from her.
From Michelle, there you go. So what do you got going on how's your week been? What you got
You
going
know
on
what?
this
I,
weekend?
I am I'm looking forward to an event that I'm doing on Sunday. It's called the Valley Fondo.
Very
So
nice. Wait for our listeners that may have joined us late. What is a Valley Fondo? What is a Fondo?
a Fondo is a fancy name for a bike ride. So
Ah,
I'm doing a 120-kilometer ride on my road bike. It is an annual event that happens Sunday, which is I think June 7th. And yeah, it starts in Fort Langley, and you're going out through Aldergrove and in and out and everywhere. I don't even know where the route is, but 120K in, 120K out, and then you're done. So it's gonna be a good event. I'm really looking forward to it.
good for you, man. That's awesome. That sounds long and hard. That sounds awesome though.
Yeah, it is long, and your bum gets sore. So
That's what I was thinking. That's crazy. 120. So 120K in, 120K out, so a total of 240, right?
no, sorry, 120K total.
Oh, 120K total.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still a lot.
Yeah, it's still a distance. I think it'll be about a 4 hour kind of ride.
That's fun
Yeah.
though. That's nice. So you
Yeah.
go from Fort Langley to Aldergrove and then back, or where do you end up? Like,
I don't know where their starting point is, but it's outside of Fort Langley. You're not
okay.
really, you're going through a little bit of it, not the immediate part, but it's just a big loop. So
Wow.
you're 120, it's pretty much a 120K loop. So it starts outside of Fort Langley. And then you're going up through into Fort Langley. I don't even know the route, to be honest with you,
That's
Alistair. Then you're going out through Aldergrove, I think probably up to First Avenue, and then you're kind of looping yourself. You're looping yourself around.
that's
I could totally be wrong. To be honest, I just get on and I go. I just follow
whatever,
people.
man. Whatever, man. Congratulations to all of you, though. That sounds, man, that sounds fantastic. That puts my weekend to shame, which consists of really just a couple showings in Richmond at my listing and whatever other places that my clients want me to go out and see. And then That's all. So congratulations to all of you, man. That's fun. And is it something that people can watch as you're driving by?
Yeah, oh yeah. They shut down parts of the route to traffic. Some parts they don't. So again, for those who ride, you always know that you got to be aware of the vehicles around you.
Right?
And those for you who are beginning to ride, you don't own the rope. So make sure your head is on a swivel and making sure that you're always safe.
Yeah,
You're in control of your feet around you.
yeah, man, that's amazing. Yeah. So all you riders, yeah, be aware and be safe. That's awesome. For anybody out that's taking a walk or whatever, if you see them going by, cheer them on, man, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
an amazing thing they're doing. That's awesome, buddy. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm looking forward to doing the RBC Fondo too, which is the
okay.
Whistler Fondo, which is very similar, but it's lots of elevation. This one's not so much. This one's a rolling Fondo. The RBC one I plan on doing in September. That's a hill climb of
That's awesome. That's awesome. You'll have to remind us when that happens.
yeah,
That's cool.
absolutely.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, we got a lot of stuff going on, so let's kick it and let's get started with the hottest segment in podcast, and that is
Did you know?
that's right, baby. Did you know? So, did you know this week is did you know the statistics for May are out this week, Geoff?
No, I did
I,
not.
I'm guessing you didn't. So, let's get into it. Let's start in the Fraser Valley. In May, 1,124 homes were sold, which is a slight bump from April, but still 5% below this time last year. So really on the surface, nothing to write about. But we dig down a layer or so, and a much more interesting story shows up. So there are now more than 10,000 homes for sale across the Fraser Valley. So we're really rolling with north of 10,000 units of inventory, one of the deepest pools, again, we've had of choice in years. And only about 11 out of every 100 homes for sale found a buyer last month, which again firmly has us sitting in a buyer's market, same as we've been sitting in for what, Geoff? 3 years?
Ever.
Yeah,
Forever.
forever. So, who are the people that are actually buying? And what we found is it's move up buyers. Folks who already have a home, have built up equity in it, and you're using today's conditions to step up into something larger.
Mhm.
And when you look at the numbers, it's really making complete sense. So a typical detached home in the Fraser Valley now is sitting at $1.36 million. We'll say, so just for easy math's sake, we're sitting at $1.4 million, down almost 8% from last year. A typical townhome sits at around $769,500, which is down 7.5%. And a typical condo is at $483,800, which is down nearly 9%. Now sit with that for a second. So if your current home has come down in value, the home you want, right, has almost certainly come down in value also. And the bigger pricier home usually drops more in actual dollars. So the gap between your current home and your next one just got smaller. And that's the opportunity that didn't exist, right, when prices were climbing every month. So that's been the meat of the market in the Fraser Valley, is that move up buyer, because the gap has shrank and they've been able to, with the equity that they built up, move up into that bigger home now.
Yeah, and I think it's also important, and you've alluded to this, is like the market you sell in is the market you buy in, right?
Right. And because you're buying at a price of your home, right, that dollar value drop is bigger, which now has made it viable to make the move. So now when we cross the bridge, into Metro Vancouver, the story rhymes. So in May in Vancouver, we had 22,150 homes sold, which was down about 3.5% from last year. And we discussed that last month that was the biggest thing going on in Metro Vancouver, right? Was detached home sales. They were up actually 8.8% last year, or last month, I beg your pardon. And down three, and so they're down 3.5% from last year, and more than a quarter below what was normal for this time last year. Meanwhile, there were 17,000 homes for in inventory wise, I beg your pardon, they were sitting at 17,000 units for sale, well above again the long-term norm. So again, same theme, options, leverage, and all that choice, keeping prices steady rather than spiking. So the typical home across Metro Vancouver sits at about $1.1 million, which is down 6% from last year. Detached is at 1.8 million, townhomes 1 million, and condos 697,000. 6% detached was down, and condos and townhomes were down nearly 8% versus last year. So my question, Geoff, again, is if we see these move-up buyers, right, that are taking advantage of the market because the price of that property has dropped so much, right? Why do we still have the first-time buyers sitting on the sidelines and not making that move? That's my question. That's my question. When we're seeing like we're seeing movement, we're seeing sales, right? And I know you and I spoke in a group this morning, and we talked about other agents out there and what they're seeing with listings. Some that are carrying a lot of listings right now and nothing is able to sell for them. And the reason being is they're carrying a higher condo ratio, right? And their detached home is, they're having trouble with just from a pricing perspective. Because we know priced properties are selling in both markets, whether it be Fraser Valley, whether it be Metro Vancouver. We know the detached market is moving, right?
Yeah, I think you have a different buyer on a detached market than you do with a condo and a first-time home buyer, right?
Right.
So I think their position in life probably is a little bit different, which makes them the ability of maybe pulling triggers on, on upsizing, right?
Right.
They probably have the experience and the wisdom that they've gone through the cycle of real estate and maybe understand it a little bit more, but not always. Maybe the housing on a detached house just kind of fits their family profile a little bit differently than on a first-time home buyer. And at the end of the day, if you take a look at why there's slow sales is again, I've said this lots of times in the past, people follow the person that's in front of them.
Yeah.
So if your whole, network of if you're a first-time home buyer buying a condo, or if you're in just that condo market at general, like what are you hearing that's exciting you to buy it? That's media related, that's community related, and all that is you don't hear anything that's exciting. Therefore, your mind just tells you that things are going to keep on correcting. But again, what we've also said is when you really take a look at the statistics of it, we're probably soon to be in the worst market that the country's ever seen. We've always said it's been the second worst market. The rates are the second best rates that our country has seen prior to COVID. If you take a look at the foundation as far as why you should be buying in the condo market, it's all there. But if you take a look at what you hear in radio, in print, in your friendships, and what people are telling you, it's all negative.
Yeah. So that's the part, and sorry to cut you off, but that's the part that just doesn't match up with me because when I you hear these reports from CMHC that, they've done studies, they've done polls, and they found that the majority of first-time home buyers already have the money, that it's not a financial thing, that they're more afraid of making a mistake than it is of not having the money, right? And then you see people are moving up, right, into another property, right? So that means that they've also got to know people that aren't in the market yet, right? So they should be the ones also kind of voicing, hey, this is what I'm doing, da, 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 da. You would think that there would be this kind of correlation where, okay, if you don't want to listen to a realtor or to a mortgage broker or something like that, right? When you're a first-time home buyer, you're afraid to make a mistake. You've got all the money, but you should be knowing people that are, have a home that are now buying a bigger one, and you'd think they'd be discussing with them. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Have you ever heard the phrase, and I could have this wrong, feathers of the same bird stick together?
Yeah, yeah.
So again,
Birds of a feather stick together. Yeah.
right. So what I'm hearing from you is where we're seeing an uptick in the market is people that are upsizing their detached homes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So feather of the same bird stick together. So again, to your point,
Yes.
that's what's being communicated. Maybe this is why there's an uptick in the market. Feathers of the same bird stick together their network isn't first-time home buyers and condos,
Yeah.
perhaps, right?
Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
center of influence isn't in that sandbox.
Yeah.
Their center of influence is again people that are probably very similar to what they're doing, and maybe that's the reason why that there's an uptick in that space.
Sure.
To your
Yeah.
to your point.
No. Yeah. No. Valid. Well, yeah. No, that's valid. No, it's valid. It's just one of those things. It's guys like, for first-time buyers, we can't stress enough just how important it is for you to take advantage of this time, because we can't say, we've been talking about this for, God, it feels like Geoff said earlier, forever. We don't know when the market's going to shift, but when it shifts, then you're going to hear the complaints of, I should have done it before, and then it's just an awkward conversation going on after that. So just start looking at what people are doing already. And yes, you can argue that it's already built up equity that's helping these people purchase, but the fact of the matter is, CMHC has also told us that first-time homebuyers have the money. So that's really not the issue. It's the fear of making a mistake.
Yeah, it's
it's
the psychology of debt, which we've done a pod on, right?
Which we've done a pod on.
Right. And that's the thing. And again, I also want to make it clear, it's not that everybody is upsizing.
No.
That's this week's,
or this month,
right?
Yeah, that's this month's from this stat. Next month it could be completely different.
Exactly. And as you were kind of even disclosing the stats for this month, I remember last month, this is we're starting to see things raise 3%. Like, could this be the time that things are correcting, right?
Yeah.
So every month is different. It goes down to the psychology of debt, to the fear, to CMHC study why people aren't buying. And it goes back to, again, like when you take a look, when people shouldn't have been buying, they were buying like it was Boxing Day. And now we're in an environment where you see where people should be buying, and it's crickets out there, right?
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to, we're almost recycling the pod here. It comes down to the fear of missing out. Yeah. It comes down to what's that person in front of you doing. It comes down into, what you're hearing around the water cooler at work, right? Yeah. And again, when you take a look at the overall market, it is crickets out there. There are people that are buying, but again, the stats will show you that we're in for a grind, right?
That's it, right?
So when are we going to come out? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting because the spring market is now done. We're now going into the summer market, which is the slower market of the year. So it'll be interesting to see what the next 3 months brought us, because we finished, in terms of pricing, just so we can move on, we finished about 1% in our average dollar value of a home fell 1%. So we went up 0.3, up 0.1, down 1. So basically, like I was saying, it's really just balanced. At the end of the day, prices are balanced. We're kind of where it's at.
At the end of the day, it hasn't moved.
Exactly.
What is that 0.1, 0.3, 1 like
it's basically balanced. And that's what I say. Our
Yeah.
price is where it's at. Now it's just, guys, it's activity. We've seen the detached market taking advantage of their opportunities. Now we just need first-time buyers to now feel like they're able to take advantage of their opportunities. So did you know? And now you do.
And now you do, which is a nice transition into what I want to speak about, which are realtor mistakes we see every week and common errors that can cost you, the home buyer, thousands. So again, this is going to be geared towards realtor mistakes. This is geared towards how this affects you as a home buyer. And again, this is a great time for people to get into the market.
Yeah.
This is a great time for you to be in the market. And this is basically what we're seeing, which could cost you thousands of dollars as you get into the market, working possibly with the wrong realtor. And it happens. Remember, folks, 25,000 Greater Vancouver area realtors, average sale on those 25,000, one home. You could be working with the wrong person, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is kind of a little bit of a deja vu as far as what we talked about last week. One of the biggest mistakes that we see that realtors make, again, is working with borrowers that have not been fully pre-approved, right? And we talked about this on last week's pod. But if you are a realtor, it is so important that you are working with buyers that have done an application, that have given the documents to their broker or to their lender. Those documents have been vetted and the rate holds have been put into place, right? As a realtor, it's really important that you ask those questions before you start moving forward and showing these potential clients or these potential buyers homes. Because again, and I shared this story last week, is you could be one of those realtors, and let's be honest, like if you've been in real estate, you either have done this or you know people that have, where you're showing countless houses, condos, whatever it is, properties. I used the story last week, 25 homes that this realtor showed. Imagine how much time and energy that was for this particular realtor. Imagine how much time and energy that was for the borrower. And when they finally got an accepted offer, it collapsed because that borrower did the application, did the rate holds, but never forwarded the docs. And once the docs got into the picture, the docs didn't match up to the details and everything fell apart, right? So again, go ahead, Allister.
I was just gonna say, I just wanted to chime in from a realtor perspective on that. And when we ask a prospective client if they've been pre-approved, it's really not a nasty word saying we just want to make sure that you're qualified enough to buy and that we're not wasting our time, right? It's actually a service to you, and it is so that we have an idea of what you can buy, so that we don't go walking around or going around with you finding a property for you that you fall in love with. You think it's the greatest thing that you could ever imagine living in. We get excited along with you. We write up the paperwork to get the offer approved and now send it over for financing, only to have your heart broken.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford to own it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's always best that we know what your range is, so that we can find you that property that you fall in love with, and we know that you can afford it. So sorry, Geoff. It's always a nasty thing that I know realtors get sometimes when we ask that question. Have you been?
Yeah, and you're just protecting your time as well.
Sure. Yeah.
And here's the other thing for the buyers or the potential buyers that listen to our pod, again, get an application done, get the documents to the lender, make sure they're verified, get a pre-approval letter, and then get a rate hold in place.
Right.
As a buyer, as a potential buyer, you as a realtor, Allister,
Yes.
ask your potential buyer, have you got the application done? Have you given your lender all the documents that are needed?
Yeah.
Um,
Have
do
you
you
got
have
your
a
rate
rate
hold?
hold? Do you have a rate hold in place?
Yeah.
Can I see your pre-approval letter?
Yeah.
And then more importantly, again, this is one extra step a realtor can do, reach out to that broker or to that name on that pre-approval letter and make sure everything is verified. So again, protecting your time, you're moving forward and spending the energy that needs to be spent in order to basically fulfill your buyer's obligation, right? And
Yes.
again, to your point, not destroying their dreams because they haven't done things properly,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And every realtor here on this pod has a story, just like showing someone 25 houses and the wheels falling off, or knows of a colleague that basically hadn't vented their borrower properly, and as a result spent their time, spent their money, and at the end of the day, basically everything collapsing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the other thing too. You can do all of that as well. And here's another mistake that we see with realtors making and borrowers is you could have the application done, you could have your docs vetted, you could have your pre-approval and your rate hold. Your realtor has contacted your lending partner. But again, it's really, really important to also assume that every property may not qualify for financing, right? So here in the Fraser Valley, we have a lot of properties that have acreage. Keep in mind, lenders will only recognize, not all lenders, most lenders will recognize up to 5 to 10 acres plus the primary dwelling, but will not recognize the additional acreage or any type of outbuildings, right? So again, if you have a purchase price that's reflective of that entire property, which it is, but the lender is only recognizing the primary residence and up to 10 acres, your purchase price to what the appraised value based on the lender's criteria may fall short,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Also, really important, folks, is that if you are buying acreage, there are lenders that will recognize acreage outside of 10 acres. So every lender isn't the same. So I don't want to say, hey, if you're buying acreage, oh, Geoff told me that it's only 10 acres and my primary residence and now I'm getting all freaked out. There are other lenders that will recognize higher acreage, but it's really important to understand that every lender doesn't recognize acreage the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Other properties that can be a concern are certain condos. Self-managed condos with a small amount of units can be a real red flag for lenders, right? Understand that condos that are in the system of red flags, CMHC, Canada Guarantee, and Sagan, have a list of the condos that they won't lend on, right? And that could be because of envelope issues that they've seen in the past with past people trying to get financing on it. It could be special assessments that have been recognized that have flagged them. It could be depreciation reports that have flagged them. So remember, again, CMHC, Canada Guarantee, and Sagan, they have hundreds and hundreds of properties that are being financed yearly. And if there are concerns with particular properties, there is record of those concerns, and that could be a flag and a possible property that's not going to basically get financing on it because of its property details, right?
Yeah.
Rural properties, again, cottage financing, not necessarily like really big here in BC, but in Ontario and certain parts of Canada, everybody owns a cottage,
Yeah.
right?
Manitoba, baby.
But
Very familiar
remember,
with cottage insurance.
if you are buying a cottage that doesn't have a heat source, that's going to be a red flag. Doesn't have running water, that's going to be a red flag. Doesn't have electricity, that's going to be a red flag. And again, that could also blow up the financing, right? Homes needing repairs. We often will see realtors put an MLS on
As
their MLS,
is.
as is, where is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, again, to a lender, that's a huge that could be a concerning flag. Well, what do you mean as is, where is? Like, okay, like tell me more, right?
Yeah.
Let's now take a look at the home inspection report. And all of a sudden, there's concerns within those comments, which lead to additional paper or additional documents. And then all of a sudden, the property doesn't meet the lender criteria.
Yeah.
There's properties again here in the Fraser Valley, native lease land, right? Again, understand that a lot of lenders don't lend on native lease land. Many do, right? Understand municipal lease lands out in UBC. You'll see a lot of municipal leasehold properties come in there. Again, a lot of lenders will not recognize that, but a lot of lenders will. The one thing that we see where we have a lot of troubles trying to get financing is corporate leaseholds, right? So again, we have to understand as realtors and as possible buyers is that every property doesn't necessarily qualify for financing, right? So again, the mistakes that we can see is like, hey, no problem, no problem, no problem. But there could be a problem.
Yeah.
Remediated grow ops could be a problem.
That's a big one.
Mobile homes, in certain trailer parks could be a problem. Mobile homes that are older than 1995 could be a problem. So again, every property doesn't necessarily qualify for financing, even though that you've done the necessary steps as the borrower, in order to move forward.
No, that's like I've always said the grow up one is such a tough one because now I guess because of with the legality with the legal changes, you can now grow 5 plants or something, whatever that number is. But now if you've been growing in the home and now you're moving, somebody else buying it and it's now been used to grow those plants, you might have a lender that doesn't want to lend on that property.
Yeah, so when we talk about remediate grow ops, these are basically grow ops that
Or are we talking about the ones that were
that have actually been recognized as grow
by the police, right?
by the police, right?
Right.
So we can still get those done, but again, you have to have air, you got to have an air quality test, you have to have mold testing. Some lenders want to see incident reports from the police. So again, they still can be done, but it's really important to understand that there's extra steps in order to get those done. And if they haven't been done, then the financing is collapsing. People who are growing weed in their homes, that comes down to the property disclosure statement.
Right. That's right.
So,
yeah.
so if this comes down into
That's
the
my bad. I
disclosure
put those two
statement,
backwards. Yeah.
that still is going to raise flags because now
Sure.
again, okay, well, you've been growing weed there. Okay, well, the lender may still now now we want to see an air quality test.
Sure.
Now we want to see mold testing. And again, it all depends on what's been disclosed, right?
Yeah.
But again, if you're growing weed and it's disclosed in your property disclosure statement, that could be a speed bump.
And you have to disclose. I think we did this a couple of pod ago before, and somebody got sued because they lied on their property disclosure statement, and somebody found out, and they sued them back again. So don't lie.
Yeah, well, a lot of things that we're seeing now, Alistair, and obviously you can put more discussion on it, is the new forms that are out, which are called property no disclosure statement.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, those ones are making people happy.
So we're seeing actually more and more of those where the sign a date and the lender accepts and is the property no disclosure statement, right?
Yeah.
So again, where I'm really before we get too sidetracked on this whole thing is just ensure folks you could be doing all the right things as a borrower, but the property that you're looking to buy still has to qualify for the financing.
Yeah.
Right. And again, what we've just outlined here are some examples as far as where it can be speed bumps for lenders when it comes down to the financing and the property details. The other things that we see that realtors can do is that they're pressuring buyers to remove conditions that haven't actually been met in order to complete the sale, right? I don't think we're seeing this as much as we did in the COVID days,
Yeah.
where people were just actually not even going in with conditions, because the market is where it's at. If things have to get extended, we're starting to see the sellers a lot more willing to extend those dates in order to make sure that the conditions are being met. But again, folks, this is where I go back to understand that your average Greater Vancouver realtor has sold one house,
Hmm.
right? Understand that these realtors have to pay their bills. So again, if you're working with the wrong realtor, and they're in a position where they need to sell a house in order to pay their bills, they may be pushing you to remove conditions that haven't been satisfied, or possibly not even putting conditions into the purchase agreement in order for them to basically have their best interest versus your best interest. So again, this is where we're going to even transition into, the power teams, and we continually talk about them. But again, the conditions within a purchase agreement, there should always be a financing condition in there.
Yep.
There should always be a home inspection condition in there.
Yep.
There should always be a strata document review condition in there.
Yes.
There should be an insurance confirmation
Yeah.
condition in there. Alistair can tell you probably a whole bunch of more conditions that need to be in there. He is
Yeah.
the expert. Your realtor is the expert. So again, mistakes that we see with realtors is they either remove conditions that haven't been met, or those conditions are not within the purchase agreement.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a big one too, and we walk on this one gingerly, because as far as a compliance thing, realtors don't necessarily have the right or the obligation to review strata documents. They will pass that on to the borrower. Realtors don't have the right to give opinion on strata documents. And again, Alistair, you can chime in if I'm incorrect here.
No, that is true. So legally, we are under our license we're not supposed to give advice on strata documents, because we are not the authority, and we could actually lose our license. So let's be honest. Let's just throw it out there. We could be threatened with our license if somebody turned around to sue us. Now, with that being said, I have a letter that that when working with my clients, that I have written up, that if I'm dealing with strata documents, that if they would like me to look after, to review them with them, knowing that I advise them to go get a lawyer, and read it thoroughly, because I'm not the expert. I will do a review of them, and I will highlight anything that I find that would be alarming. And the reason being is that they don't know, right? It's hard to judge what's important to one person might not be important to another, and that's why they don't want realtors giving that advice. I still will do that because I think it's very important. Yeah. It's something that it's easy to do, and it's a few things that I look over. Go ahead.
And even to go on your side of things is I always tell people, when we are doing your mortgage, I'm pretending you're my family, and right. I'm not ever going to put you into a mortgage product that I wouldn't put my own sister, my own mother, my own son into, right? I would expect that same thing with my realtor, right? Yes. Is if this is something that you want to buy for yourself, if this isn't something you want to buy for your mother, your grandmother, your daughter, your son, then do not bring that to me, because of what you're seeing within the strata documents is a flag to you. Give the opinion that it's going to be a flag to me, right? Right. So it drives me insane when realtors will come back to their borrowers, or even often to myself, to say, I'm not legally obligated to do this. Yeah. And again, because I could lose my license. Okay, fair. but can you not give it an opinion,
Thank
right?
you. Great.
Um,
That's exactly it. But yeah.
can you, is this something that you would sell your mother or your daughter or your son? And if it isn't, maybe you should protect the interest of your client because at the end of the day, your obligation is to your client,
And
right?
thank you, because we have a fiduciary duty. That is the top thing we are bound to, is a fiduciary duty to our clients to protect their interest. And
Right.
protecting their interest is to keep them out of a bad investment. So
Right.
because I'm on your side, Jeff, with this, and I know people that don't like the StrataDocs thing and all that sort of stuff. I know we got to cut time short, but we could take this argument forever because to your point, to me, it's a little unnerving.
Yeah. And if you do pass that on to your client,
Mhm.
then at least give them platforms of people that can give opinion on them. And they're out there. And there's a cost for these
Yeah.
companies to review the docs. And you know what? You as the realtor should pay for that cost,
Mhm.
right? If
Yeah.
you don't want to give your opinion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Again, you're protecting your client.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to do that. Well, have your client run a depreciation report through ChatGPT. I can guarantee you once that comes out, they're not going to buy it because
Yeah.
even on the best property, you run their depreciation report through ChatGPT. It's not going to come out it doesn't come out looking great,
No, it does
right?
not.
So again, where I'm going with this is we see a lot of realtors not reviewing strata documents carefully. We see a lot of realtors not giving an opinion on strata documents because it's not under their licensing to do so. Then they're not basically offering alternate solutions as far as third-party platforms that can give legal opinion on it or opinion on it, not legal opinion, but opinion on it, because that's what they specialize to do because they either don't want to spend the money or their client doesn't want to spend the money to do so. And again, at the end of the day, this mistake can cost that person thousands. Remember that last pod the pods we did. Anyone that has a stratified a condo unit is going to probably have a special assessment of $8,000 in 2026.
Exactly. Yep.
Right? That's just the average.
Right. Yep.
So you review strata documents. How many times, Alistair, have you reviewed a strata document and there's a special assessment of hundreds of thousands of dollars that have yet to be voted on, but needs to be voted on within the next 24 months,
Yep.
right?
There was a Vancouver condo with window issues.
Yeah. So that new buyer is going to come in and going to have a $30,000 bill that he may not be aware of because the strata documents weren't reviewed properly. And let's be honest, most people who review strata documents that are the buyer, they don't understand them.
They have no idea what they're looking at.
So the other thing too, guys, mistakes that we see is that realtors just focus on the mortgage payment. Buyers just focus on the mortgage payment. But again, remember, you do have property taxes that you need to pay for. You do have insurance and utilities that need to be paid for. You have general maintenance that needs to be accounted for. But more importantly, if you're buying a stratified unit, you have strata fees. And again, I've seen some strata fees up to $600, right? So you don't forget, you got to add all these extra costs onto the mortgage payment, right? And sometimes we just get so focused on, well, what's the mortgage payment? We forget, well, I'm going to have a property tax obligation. I'm going to have an insurance obligation. I'm going to have my utilities. But the big one is strata fees,
Yeah.
right? You know, that can be anywhere from 300. I've seen them up to $900 depending on what you're buying,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I showed a townhome last week with $808.67 strata fee. Isn't awesome.
And this is where we need to wrap it up,
Yeah.
Alistair. This is the most important thing that buyers need to do, realtors need to do, is again, surround yourself with the right power team.
Yes.
That realtor needs to work with the right mortgage broker. That realtor needs to be connected with the right solicitor. And again, that realtor needs to be working with the right buyer. For some buyers, guys, I hate to say it, you are pains in the asses because your expectations are unrealistic or your demands are way out of line. And again, every realtor that's listening to this pod, I can guarantee you has had a buyer that basically just was very, very difficult to work with. And it wasn't necessarily because of what the realtor was doing or the broker or the lawyer or the notary. It's just the expectation of service, or the expectation was just very unrealistic. So again, as much as that there are bad realtors, bad brokers, bad solicitors, there's a lot of bad buyers out there. But at the end of the day, again, that power team and being all on the same page, working towards the same goal and doing it properly is just going to make what they say is the best experience of your life. In reality, it's one of the most stressful experiences of your life. It's going to make it that much better.
Yeah. Amen. And, oh, quick question. I know we gotta go because we're running out of time. But any issues have you had in the past with realtors that don't get documents that to you in time, right? Making sure that, realtors get the documents into you on time
As a mortgage broker, the realtors, the biggest frustrations that we have from the realtors is when we need strata documents. They send us the entire strata package, right? And keep in mind, folks, this package can be 200 to 500 pages of strata documents. And I always tell our realtor partners is, look, don't send us the package. If you want this thing to go smooth, send us what we need and only what we need in order to be this efficient. And I've had kickback from realtors that say, well, why is your time more important than mine? Well, it's not. But the reality of it is that if we need these certain strata documents, just send us these certain strata documents, because the responsibility for the property and its documents are you, the realtor. It's not the broker to sort. It's not for the lender to sort. If they're property documents that the lender is requesting, that responsibility falls on the realtor to sort what we need, provide what is needed, just like a borrower. We need a job letter, we need a pay stub, we need T1 generals, we need notice of assessments. They give us what the lender wants. And again, for the realtors that are out there, do your lending partners a favor. Again, if they're not asking to break down the strata documents to what they need, send them the package. That's on them. But if you are working with a broker that's very itemized as far as what they need, send them that. And it's crazy. I've never had to send that before. Well, it's crazy. But again, it goes back to what we just said, is working with the right team.
That's it. Moral of the story: a good working relationship amongst everybody ends up in a wonderful and easy journey. Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, if that's all you got, that's all I got. Everybody get out there, have an amazing weekend. I know it's going to be a little bit shaky in terms of the weather, but get out there and enjoy some of it. Can't wait for you guys to be back with us for next week. We are hitting the century mark. It is going to be episode 100. It is going to make Geoff and I come up with something big. Oh my God, I don't know what we're going to do, but we can't wait to have you guys back here next week with us for episode number 100. Have an amazing weekend, and most importantly, stay informed, stay empowered, and Geoff,
stay tuned.
That's right, baby. Stay tuned. Peace out.